So I drafted from the 4th spot. You guys can see I have Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Bo Nix, Justin Fields. So that's the team. Just keep that in mind as we're going through this list. So just my thinking in the first round was pretty simple. Lamar Jackson, Allen, and Daniels all go off the board. I'm there staring at Jalen Hurts, Bijan, Gibbs. Now this is an FFPC Superflex draft. It's a best ball league. Tight ends have a premium. It's a full point per reception. It's 20 rounds. So, tight ends are obviously being drafted early. Quarterbacks being drafted early. But with that in mind, I ended up going with Jamar Chase. Just, he's the best skill position in fantasy football. I think he will still outproduce Brock Bowers, even in a tight end premium. I think he produces all the running backs. It's just, I assume he's going to have the same type of season. He's going at the 101 for most people in normal leagues and non-Superflex. So I'm like, you know what? I don't really love Jalen Hurts that much. I'm not that big on him, where I don't think there's a huge difference between Hurts and maybe a QB I can get a little later, while I think there's a huge difference between Jamar Chase and maybe I would have had Amon-Ra in the second round, right? I think there's a bigger disparity there. So we swing back around. A lot of the running backs that I kind of liked early were gone, right? Like Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Genty. They were gone. So I go with Nico Collins. I just solidify my 2 wide receiver spots. I was a little bit worried about that. I was like, damn, I don't have a QB. A lot of QBs were flying off the board at the time. But, I kind of liked the tier where I was like, all right, I'll be happy with Baker, Dak, Bo Nix. So I just took the risk. I took Nico. Swing back around. Not a lot. Only one QB goes off the board. It's Kyler. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take Bo Nix here. I liked Bo Nix over Baker, Dak, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert. I just think he has more rushing upside than Baker Mayfield, and he might actually surprise us in the passing touchdown department, bro. I think Bo Nix, the Broncos are like the 2nd or 3rd ranked offensive line. Again, go grab that report that I linked down below. Bo Nix they have like the 2nd or 3rd ranked offensive line, a really easy schedule, an ascending quarterback. He already looked great in his rookie season. Sean Payton offense. Love Bo Nix. We see some more players go off the board. Brian Thomas is also an option there. I saw Ladd, Brian Thomas. I was considering Brian Thomas there, but I was like, bro, if I triple tapped wide receiver to start this draft, that's about the time when I just figured I'm going to go 0 RB. I'm like, you know what? Fuck a running back, dude. Like, I'm going to go with Bo Nix. I'm going to see what else I can get and just punt RB, right? So swing back around. Chase Brown is off the board. Josh Jacobs, James Cook were all gone. So I'm like, all right, I'm taking Fields here. Like, Fields was the last like rushing QB in that tier that I really liked, because as you guys can see, the names after Justin Fields here were, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, Jordan Love, Cam Ward, all like pocket passers, or, Cam Ward, he's a little bit unproven. So I felt happy about that. I got the last like high upside rushing QB. I come back around, I see Garrett Wilson is still available. I decide to stack him with Justin Fields. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm fully committing to the RB punt. Some other options that I could have taken in the 5th round. Devontae Adams was in my queue. I was looking at him. It was actually a pretty big debate. At this point in the draft, I was also kind of hoping Omari and Hampton would fall to me in the 5th round. He ends up going at that 5-6 or the 4-5 turn. So I'm like, all right, I'll take Wilson. I'll get that stack with Fields. We swing back around. Now, DK Metcalf is probably going to be, in a vacuum, better player than Sutton. So will probably Chet McMillan, I assume. But because I have Bo Nix, I end up going with Cortland Sutton there. So I'm committing to the bit, bro. I still haven't taken an RB at this point. Tyreek Hill was on the board as well. Or no, sorry. Fucking Jameson Williams, who's someone that I really like, was still on the board. Unfortunately, he doesn't make it back to me in the 7th round. At this point, I'm like, all right, dude, I'm going to take my first running back because Trevion Henderson was still on the board at this point. He is a dude that in a full PPR league, in a 0 RB build, if you can get a guy like Trevion Henderson, that's the perfect type of running back that I like personally. He's going to have season-long value as a receiving back, and he might win early down work. If Ramondre Stevenson continues fumbling, if this team is like, you know what, Ramondre's not a part of this regime, we didn't draft him, we don't really give 2 fucks about this like slow, inefficient butt cheeks of a running back, dude. Like, they might just move to Trevion Henderson, and you might find yourself with an RB1 in your possession, right, with receiving upside. So I was like, all right, I'm taking Trevion. A bunch of fucking nobodies, bust stop Magoo's go off the board, Matt Stafford, Geno Smith, Aaron Jones, Zay Flowers. You can have them, bro. I don't want any of those guys. You can take them. And then Travis Hunter, I was hoping he might make it back to me in the, what are we looking at now? The 8th round. I'll try to make sure my dumbass face isn't in the way of this video. Travis Hunter doesn't make it back to me. He goes here at this 8th pick. I'll try to highlight players. I probably should have been doing that from the beginning, but we then swing back around. RJ Harvey goes off the board. I was a little bit sad about that. I would have loved, I was kind of debating it when I was doing the live commentary. Like, do I want to have Sutton, Nix, and RJ Harvey? Probably not, right? I feel like Nix and Harvey can't both get points when they score. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe that's the wrong thinking with a stack, when you're stacking players. But I come back around, and in the 8th round, I go and I take Evan Ingram, where I'm like, all right, RJ Harvey might not be a good stack with Sutton and Bo Nix, but Evan Ingram, Sutton, Bo Nix, we now have a triple stack, dude. We are in full diabetes KFC triple stack mode, dude. And I felt real happy about that, bro. I was really excited. At this point, I went back into the 0 RB build because I see that in the 9th round, I kind of reach for Josh Downs. So if you guys follow FFPC ADP, or I think even Underdog follows closely, Josh Downs is not being taken in the 9th round ahead of Juwan Jennings, Chris Olave, Jacoby Myers. Now, I'm a big Josh Downs believer. I'm a Josh Downs enjoyer. I love Josh Downs. I'm trying to draft him in every single league I'm in. So I go with Josh Downs. I just think he has a lot more upside. Targets per route run, first downs per route run. Josh Downs is a stud, and he played really well with Richardson. So if it's Richardson, I love Josh Downs this season, but we're not gonna linger too much on any player. Swing back around, I go with Tajay Spears over a guy like ETN, over J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Mason. Again, PPR league. He's going to have receiving upside. He is going to be the bona fide 1B in this offense. The fucking Titans coaching staff already said they want a 50-50 split between Pollard and Spears. Now, they did say that last season as well, but Spears is dealing with a lot of injuries. And then by the end of the season, when Pollard, I think, was dealing with some injuries, Spears was like a fantasy league winning running back. He averaged like 20 fantasy points in the playoffs. I fucking love Spears. He's also like a must draft guy for me. We swing back around, and at this point, I'm hunting for running backs. I go 0 RB, so I'm hunting for running back value. I'm trying to shoot for some upside. I want to make sure that these dudes are getting snaps all season. Tank Bigsby, dude. I see him further down the list. ADP has not adjusted because in training camp, Tank Bigsby has looked great. He's been running with the ones ahead of Travis Etienne, I believe. I need to look into that. Don't fucking quote me on that. But I go with Tank Bigsby. I'm like, all right, dude. He seems to be the 1A, which is kind of unfortunate for all of our Basial Tootin shares. But I go with Tank Bigsby. I swing back around, and I take Rachaad White, another receiving back. He should have season-long value. There's a couple outs where if he were to get traded at the deadline, if Bucky Irving were to go down, Rachaad White might step back into that. Maybe not a workhorse role like he used to have. I do think they get Sean Tucker involved on early downs. The problem is just that Rachaad White is such an inefficient runner. I don't imagine him having the backfield to himself if Bucky were to go down. But I do think he's going to have some season-long value as like a receiving back. This is a PPR league. I have to keep reminding you guys, so that's why I went with our boy Rachaad White. Some other names of consideration there instead of Rachaad White. You had Jaden Higgins, who's interesting. Darnell Mooney was someone that I was really looking at. But at this point, because I committed to the 0 RB, I kind of have to pull the trigger on running back. So I don't go with Darnell Mooney, who would have been nice. Michael Pittman, too, even though I already had Downs. If I would have went with Michael Pittman, you have Downs and Pittman, you're basically locking down the fucking middling Colts offense. I'm like, fuck that noise. Trey Harris would have also been cool, instead of fucking Tank Bigsby. So, I'm not going to harp too much on who I could have taken. I'm just going to talk about who I did take and kind of how this team shook out. Anyway, I then swing back around. Marvin Mims, unfortunately, gets taken. Or no, he doesn't get taken. After Rachaad White, I go with Cedric Tillman. I was debating Cedric Tillman and Marvin Mims. Because I have Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, I don't want to go with a quadra stack and go with Marvin Mims. So I went with Cedric Tillman. A lot of things about Cedric Tillman's profile I really like. He has this Nico Collins type build. He's like a true X receiver. He's going to be playing on a team that's going to be very bad, right? The Browns have like the worst O-line, one of the tougher schedules. They don't really have a QB. They're not going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be playing from behind. They're like going to be getting blown out by teams. It's going to be the Jerry Jeudy and Njoku and Cedric Tillman show. Teams are going to maybe loosen up a little bit. Maybe some potential deep shots with Cedric Tillman. I don't know. He played really well last season after they traded Amari Cooper. Cedric Tillman stepped into that X role that Amari Cooper was occupying, And he was a wide receiver one for those like 4 weeks that he was actually the starter. Gets a bunch of concussions, out for the season. But I really like that pick. We then come around, and in the next round, I take Beischel too, and he was still on the board at that point. I already have Tank Bigsby. I'm like, let me take Tootin. I'm just ensuring that I have a couple more pieces of this offense that I think is going to really be much better than they were last season. The reason these guys are so depressed, their ADPs, is that no one really knows who's going to be the starter, right? So you're getting Tank Bigsby and Beischel after the 11th round. I'm okay with that. It could end up being Travis Etienne, and then, I'll eat a big dick on that one. But I come back around, and I'm looking for a second tight end at this point. And I'm debating between Brenton Strange, Kate Otten, Mike Gesicki. And, with late round tight ends, here's my thoughts. Here's my thinking. You either want to take a tight end that's going to be on a top offense where there's like a high opportunity or a high chance that they'll be in scoring positions. Think Mike Gesicki, think Kate Otten. So that's one side of the coin. Brenton Strange, maybe if the Jaguars are as good as I think they're going to be. So here's why I don't go with Strange. Because I already have Tootin and Tank. I don't go with Strange. Because Mike Gesicki is like the fourth option on his team, I don't go with Gesicki. I end up going with Jonnu Smith because why would the Pittsburgh Steelers be trying to trade for Jonnu Smith for fucking weeks, bro? In the offseason, they were trying to trade for this man for weeks, bro. They were looking like a level 5 stalker, dude. It was looking tough, dude. The Steelers were definitely in a little bit of a buy, it was a seller's market for the Steelers. I'm fucking rambling at this point, but they must have a role for him. They must have big plans for Jonnu Smith. I end up going with him as my second tight end. Again, as I mentioned, tight end premium. Swing around in the next round, a bunch of running back, a bunch of like handcuffs go off the boards. I start to get a little bit nervous, dude. The fucking Oreos. I see the Oreos on my table staring at me. I look at all the RBs getting taken. I look back at the Oreos. The Oreos look back at me. I look at all the running backs. I start eating Oreos. I end up auto drafting, but luckily I set up a queue and I take Chig Okonkwo. I end up getting a dude that I actually wanted. I now have 3 tight ends. I have Chig, Jonnu, and who the fuck did I take? Evan Ingram. I'm okay with that in a tight end premium. I'm actually pretty happy, bro. Chig is somebody that I really like late. I now have Chig and Tajay as a part of that Titans offense. Brian Callahan should be a better offensive environment. And then in the last couple rounds, dude, I'm just taking shots on dudes. I end up going with Jack Betch. He could be the wide receiver 2 for the Raiders. Some other dudes in contention there. Darius Slayton is somebody that I also kind of like, especially with Neighbors always getting injured. Anytime anytime someone opens a window, the man gets an injury. And then in the next round, I'm like, bro, do I really want to take like Keaton Mitchell, who might not even like see my roster any week? Or what if Keenan Allen gets signed? So I'm like, all right, dude, I'll take Keenan Allen. He still looked pretty good last year for Chicago. Looks like he's fucking feeling out the market at the moment. In the next round, I take Elijah Mitchell. There was a report recently that he's been looking good, bro. He might be the RB2 behind Pacheco. And Pacheco didn't look very efficient last year. He was coming off an injury. He could be back to himself. But if Pacheco were to go down again, I do think Elijah Mitchell steps into the RB1 role. It's just Kareem Hunt is so fucking bad, dude. Like, he was the worst, like, pound-for-pound running back last season. Yet he was productive for this Chiefs team that does want to run the ball. So I just go with Elijah Mitchell. In the next round, I go with another Elijah. Dude, I double-tap the Elijahs. And I go with Elijah Moore. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't have a piece of this Bills offense. And I want one, dude, because they're going to be probably the either the second or the first best team in the NFL this year. And I'm like, you know what? Elijah Moore is a very talented player. He's coming to the Bills where there is opportunity ahead of him. There's no like bona fide stud alpha wide receivers for the Bills. I know Shakir plays a very similar role to Elijah Moore, but I can envision a scenario where they run Shakir out of the slot. They run Elijah Moore out wide, and then they have Keon Coleman on the other side. I can imagine a situation where that happens if Moore continues to play well, continues to cement himself. I was also having a look at, Dontavian Wicks in that round. There were some other names, right, like Kendre Miller, Ollie Gordon, some handcuffs, but I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with my team. I end up finishing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wide receivers, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and 3 tight ends. I quite like my team. We'll just go back and look at my team. FFPC's interface looks like it was made in the fucking 90s, but this is the team, bro. Bo Nix, Fields, Trevion, Tajay, Tank, Rashad White, Beischel, Elijah Mitchell. then my wide receiver room is quite stacked if I say so myself, bro. This is why I said this might be the best team I've ever drafted in terms of 0 RB, because I feel like my running backs, yes, they're bad, but I think they're going to do just enough in a PPR league for me that they're going to help. They're going to fill my fucking starting roster with players, right? So I like my team. Let me know what you guys think, man. Let me know if you think this is a good team, a good strategy. I'm sorry if this video was a little bit too long, but you know me, the fucking whipper yapper, the rambler. I wanted to talk about these players and these names. Again, I will just repeat this, guys. If you guys want to grab that O-line report, link down below. It is free. You don't have to pay for it. It's just a resource that I think is helpful. It's helpful for me. Maybe it'll help you guys. Give me a like if you like this video, bro. Helps the algorithm, helps more people see my content, helps show support. Subscribe if you want to catch more of this. Hit the bell. I know that everyone just says that shit on YouTube, but YouTube is weird right now, bro, where even if you subscribe to people, if you're not actively watching a lot of their shit, they just won't show their new videos to you. So if you want to see my new videos, that's the way to do it. Hit that notification bell. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video.